Join our pack. Subscribe to start your adventure. Chapter 1. You ready now? My father asked. I breathed in a huge breath, closing my eyes and regaining composure. And tears started to fill my eyes. I was buzzing in excitement. In just a few minutes, I would be standing across from Nate at the altar, giving my vows and promising to love him forever. Soon I'd be Mrs. Nathaniel Blackstone, the alpha of the Blackstone pack. But Nate was not my soulmate. We were not destined to be together by the goddess like most other werewolves and their partners were. I waited 3 years for my Nate to come. I even got out there and tried to find him, but I had no luck. I met Nate, and we soon fell in love. Not only are we helping both of our packs, but it's helping us find love, even though we haven't found our mates. I'm the last one in my close group of friends to get married, but they all got married to their mates. I didn't feel the need to find my mate. I don't need someone to be my other half when I found it in Nate. I don't need someone to make me whole. It's just not in part of my life, and it never has been, to find my mate. My mother had always told me how wonderful having a mate was, but it always seemed like something forced. As if without the bond giving you unwanted feelings, the two wouldn't be together. My father's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. You really don't have to do this. We don't need to combine the packs. You can find your mate. He's out there now, and he's probably looking for you. He looked in my eyes and put his hands on my shoulders. Dad, I really don't need this right now. I'm marrying Nate, and that's who I want to be with. I nudged his hands off my shoulders and looked in the mirror, scrutinizing my appearance. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I think the main reason you are going through with this is because of threats. Even if we join the packs, we still have a very small chance of surviving an attack from the Lancaster pack. They are the strongest pack in this region of the U.S., maybe even the country. He pulled my chin to face his so I could see the truth in his words. I don't care about the Lancaster pack. I care about Nathan. Maybe. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I chose to date him because of the threats, but not now, Dad. I love him. I smiled and continued to fix myself up in the wall-length mirror. I saw my dad smile behind me and nod. All right then. I just wanted to make sure you're not rushing into this, or making the wrong decision. He smiled once more before he walked out the door. I fixed my hair until it was perfect and adjusted my veil, running my hands along the sweetheart neckline of my dress. My eyes wandered down the fit and flare bodice and down to the silk skirt. I touched the diamond necklace I had on and my hands found their way to the matching set of earrings. I was amazed at how serious and mature I looked. I was also speechless at how much I looked like my mother. Hey, beautiful, Nate said, surprising me, as he leaned on the doorframe. You know you aren't supposed to see me before the wedding. Right. My voice had a hint of humor, matching the smirk on my face. I know. I just missed you. And your father invited some, guests that we didn't originally plan to invite. He rolled his eyes and made a cutthroat motion. Curiosity getting the best of me. Well, he invited almost all the alphas in the region, but word of mouth traveled, and apparently the alpha of the Lancaster pack is coming to make a deal with us for peace. My jaw dropped, and a shiver went down my spine. Alpha Lancaster. Recently, he has been seen as a huge threat, especially to smaller packs like ours. He would suddenly show up to the pack, make a seriously unreasonable deal making sure that the pack would lose. And if they didn't give him what he wanted, he came back, but this time with an army behind him. His pack sled had been growing rapidly during his last few years being alpha. I turned to Nate in shock, fear probably written all over my face. He can't be here. No. He'll take over our pack. We'll be under control of him. Whatever deal he would make, we would lose. And I did not want to be under his lid. I could never call him Alpha. From all the stories of the brutal battlegrounds he left if a pack didn't want to join his, I knew I never wanted to even look at him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Nate started, walking towards me. I know. I'm wary of him too. But if he finds out we don't trust him or are scared of him, he'll attack right away without even coming up with an agreement. We have to give it a shot. He held my hand and kissed my cheek. His mouth slowly started to make small kisses down to my neck until he stopped at the spot between my neck and my shoulder. I can't wait until I can mark you as mine. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. His breath was hot against my neck, sending shivers down my spine. I can't wait until you do to Nate. I breathed out, staring into his dark brown eyes. His short brown hair and his toned body made him extremely good-looking. And soon, he would be my husband. What about Mate? He's out there, Emerald. You clearly don't care about him or me, however, because you haven't shifted in 6 months. You haven't looked for Mate in a year. You shouldn't be allowed a wolf. Esmeralda, my wolf angrily cursed at me for 100 times a day. You shouldn't be allowed a person. Do you even care about me? I love Nate. Love, not forced like the mate bond. If I was supposed to be with my mate, I would be already. Don't you think? I shot back. She huffed and stopped talking to me. Mate kissed me passionately and smiled. I guess I'll see you on the aisle. Love. He stroked my cheek and walked out. I love you, Nate. I love you more, Emerald. Then, he was gone. Emerald's Nate's POV. I walked through the doors of the small pack house in the Valentino Westpac area. Something smelled amazing, like the sweetest things in the world mixed with the most exquisite smelling flowers. I stopped a step through the door. Something wrong? Damon, my beta JX asked, stopping in front of me and looking around. I don't know. Keep on the lookout for rogues. Something smells different. I shook my head, trying to get the smell out of my thoughts. It just wouldn't disappear. The further I walked down a hallway toward the Alphas office, the more pungent the scent was. I came to the Alphas door and opened it. Oh, Alpha Lancaster. Wasn't expecting you here. His voice was firm, but the look in his eyes told differently. They darted around the room, looking for an exit. I came to make a deal. And the expression on his face changed to one of question. On the day of my daughter's wedding, I will not deal with Sabotage Lancaster. She doesn't deserve it. And frankly, neither does he. He put his hands on his desk and clenched his jaw. I'm not here to sabotage their day. I just thought that if you try to kill me, the more people you have here will mean the better revenge my guards can get on you. I smirked and saw his face get angry. I'm asking you peacefully to leave my land before the wedding starts. I don't need any drama. Come tomorrow. Come tonight at 11 o'clock. I don't care. I just need my daughter's day to be perfect. He stood up tall and crossed his arms over his chest. Have a weakness now. Do you? You never seem to be one to be so weak, Valentino. I always thought that even with your small numbers you guys were strong. But I guess not. Not now. When she becomes Luna, will the pack become another weak pack that I destroy? And you guys and your small legacy will fade away until nothing is left but the ashes? Or will you give in to my help and make this pack stronger than it ever has been? Now I suggest you invite me to this occasion and we have a deal over dinner before I rip you and your door to pieces. I smiled in mock friendliness and he flared his nostrils. You won't touch her or her fiancé or I will destroy you and your Luna. He started to walk towards me, but JX stopped him. I don't have a weakness. See, without a Luna, I couldn't give a shit about anybody in my pack, so I have nothing you can destroy. And that's just how I plan to keep it. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll go take my seat at your ceremony. I smirked and walked out of the office but ran into somebody's hard chest. Excuse him, Lancaster, he said coldly. And just who are you? I say with just as much warmth. Alpha Nathan Blackstone. Alpha of the Blackstone pack and soon to be Alpha of the Valentino pack. He puffed out his chest, seeming proud. Marrying his daughter. Your mate. Yes, his daughter. Not my mate. Not flinching when he said it wasn't his mate. Arranged. I questioned. No, he frowned when he looked me up and down. Why do you care so much? Because I'm attending. I walked off towards the backyard, where the ceremony was being held. If we didn't make this deal, this wedding wouldn't be so much white as it would red anymore. Chapter to Emerald's POV. My arm was wrapped around my father's and my veil was blocking most of my view with a lace design. I couldn't stop grinning. I'm getting married. Are you sure you want to go through with this? This is your last chance, Mayor. My dad clarifying for one more time. Positive, I said, beaming. I looped my arm through his and outside I heard his music start. Here comes the bride, all dressed in white. The tune sang. The doors opened and everyone turned their attention towards my father and I. Nate was at the other end, under the altar with the sun shining behind him. This wedding was giant, with hundreds of people attending. Nate smiled at me and I could see his eyes look me up and down. But something caught my attention. It was a smell, like the freshest rain mixed with the greenest forests. And it was delicious. I would buy candles with this scent, and have them burning until they were out. I looked around and saw someone staring at me, barely containing themselves back. His dark hair looked just messy enough to be considered hot, and his blue-grey eyes blazed around, darting to my father and I. He looked like a god. Our eyes locked, and the world seemed to stop. The small amount of wind that was disappeared and the waves on the shore calmed. Everything was at peace. It was then my heart fluttered with joy and anticipation. For years I've been waiting to meet him, and I meet him on my wedding day. Fuck. Mate, Esmeralda called, barely containing herself. I could feel her excitement, and it was that feeling that pulled me back to reality. Who was he, and why was he here? I don't need a mate. The mate bond is a curse. It forces artificial love and the harshest heartbreak if you don't accept it. What I felt with mate was real. We would fight, but rarely, and we always regretted it. With the mate bond, you don't choose if you forgive them. You just do. I can't have a mate. The wind came back, and the waves continued to crash on the shore, and my father and I continued to walk. I didn't dare look at him again. I wouldn't be able to stop myself. I passed him and accidentally peeked a glance at him. Anger was radiating off of him and his eyes were black, with lust or anger or both. I had no clue, but he couldn't stay here. What's wrong, sweetie? You stiffened up. My dad whispered. Nothing, Dad. I'm good. I smiled at him. A fake, cover-up smile. He bought it. I heard a loud, low, throaty growl from behind me and footsteps. My father turned around and everyone gasped. He was coming closer, and I cowered back as my father stepped in front of me. Get away, Lancaster. I warned you and my threats are never empty. Lancaster. My mate is fucking Damon Lancaster. Oh goddess. I'm screwed. As are mine. I never told you what I wanted out of the deal. He smiled at me, but something in his smile told me he wasn't happy with me at the moment. And what would that be? My father asked. Annoyed. I heard footsteps from behind and Nate wrapped a protective hand around my waist. What's going on here? Don't touch her. Damon snarled, looking about ready to rip Nate's head off. And why not? She's my fiancée soon-to-be wife. Nate sounded proud, and I rested my head on his shoulder, which made Damon growl loudly again. No, she's not. She's my mate. Damon stepped closer and Nate turned to face me, as did my father. What? They asked in unison, shocked. I mean, you can't prove it. And I love Nate, not him. And I really want to continue with the wedding, so you are not continuing with this wedding. Darling, Dame and demanded. I can do what I want. Lancaster. I shot back. Then I guess I can as well. He smirked, and before I could ask what he meant, I felt like I was flying. I looked around me and the landscape was moving at speed, so fast it was hard to see through the blur. But we went through the beach and into the large forest. Put me down. realizing that Damon was carrying me. As you wish. Love. Love. He didn't understand what love felt like. I know what it feels like. And I feel it whenever I'm with Nate. Damon calling me lovesick and me. Take me back to my wedding. I demanded when he set me down. As long as I'm the one across from you in the altar. He smirked and stepped closer, making me take 2 steps back. He was coming closer to me and I didn't like it. Please. One person to another. Can you take me back to Nate? I pleaded. Damon rolled his eyes. Now can do, baby. You're mine now. All mine. And only mine. He smiled and took 2 large steps toward me. And as I tried to step back, I tripped on my dress and started to fall backwards. But Damon caught me and leaned over me, his face inches from mine. His eyes stared into mine, as if they could see into my soul. And all I saw were his almost grey-blue eyes and a malicious grin as they killed innocent people. Get off me! I shrieked before I started punching his chest. I caught him off guard and he dropped me onto my butt on the ground. He looked behind us and someone ran to Damon. A man with a strong body, blonde hair, green eyes, and a nose that appears to have been broken multiple times. Damon, the Alphas are both looking for you and her, telling everybody to kill you and bring her back in one piece. They almost got me, but I grabbed one of their people and used them as a shield. She got stabbed but won't die. One of the girls in my pack was stabbed because of them. Who? Was it one of my friends? Or was it an innocent child? Or one of our elderly wise women? A mother? Grandmother? I quietly got up when they were having a quiet conversation and started to run away, but Damon easily wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me back. Stupid dress. I would run better without it on. Stop fighting him and give in. He's our mate. Our true love. If you run away one more time or reject him, I will kill you from the inside of your head. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't think I won't, Esmeralda warned. She seemed to like to enjoy being close to Damon. But I shouldn't. Don't you get it? He kills the innocent and his favorite hobby is torture. Who in their right mind would ever love him? I shouted to her. Fine then. Emerald J. Valentino. Live your life unsatisfactorily with that coward you call Nate. She huffed and disappeared. Let me go, I huffed through clenched teeth. But this is so comfortable, darling, he whispered into my ear. I tried to escape his grasp, but it was rock solid. I huffed and squirmed as far away from him as I could. Stop trying to escape me, baby. You won't be able to. He bit my earlobe, making me tremble with pleasure. No. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Yes, fear. I'm not giving in to him. I won't give in to the mate bond. Let me go, Ancaster. I stated firmly. No can do, Valentino. Lessening the space between us by flipping me around so we were chest to chest. His eyes grew black with lust as he eyed my chest area up and down, and his gaze settled back on my eyes. What's your name? He asks seductively. None of your business. Just let me go back to my family. I huffed, rolling my eyes. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Those weaklings. Your father and I had a little argument about strengths, and considering they aren't even strong enough to keep you from me. How do you know you wouldn't die there? You're safest with me, and that's exactly where I plan to keep you. He brushed a strand of hair away from my face, his finger lingering on my cheek. But what if I don't want to be with you? Has that occurred to you? I don't want to be anywhere near you. I growled, pushing him away from me with my hands that were recently freed. But you will, he whispered. Chapter 3 Emeralds, POV. I used all my strength and pushed him off me before backing up. I never will. Damon rolled his eyes and went back to talk to who I'm guessing was his beta. I leaned against a tree and looked around. Green forest surrounding us on all sides. There wasn't a path. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nolben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. or any way to find my way out of here. Crep. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Time to go home, Damon said, walking towards me. I would have thanked him for taking me home, but I knew better. He meant his house, not mine. Your house is not my home, I argued. Damon huffed and rolled his eyes. You're quite stubborn. You know that. He smiled at me and I stood off of the tree. And his laugh made my heart melt. It was so low, but it was a melodic sound that was left ringing in my ear. It quickly became my favorite sound. Wait. What? What was this mate Bond doing to me? It was making me say lies. That's what it was doing. Without a warning, Damon scooped me up bridal style and continued to run through the woods. Hey, I protested, but Damon didn't even acknowledge me. I looked around us and it was just one green and brown-colored blur. It wasn't long before Damon stopped at a small clearing. Alpha Damon. The guards in front of us bowed. They were both extremely built, almost to the point of gross built. Damon set me down and I noticed my veil wasn't on anymore. It must have fallen off on the way. Damon put his hand on the small of my back and guided us forward into the pack's territory. Don't touch me. I hissed quietly at Damon while I stepped forward so he wasn't touching me. Damon's eyes got black with anger. He grabbed my hands, making sparks and delicious warmth light up my entire body, and pulled me towards him, causing me to bump into him. Listen here, honey. I'm the only one who can touch you, so you better let me touch you all I fucking please. I flinched away from him and he let my hands free, but put a protective, incredibly strong hand around my waist, holding me to him. We walked forward until we reached an enormous house. It was by far the biggest pack house I've ever seen, and I've seen tons of pack houses. I used to visit all the nearby packs that had alphas my age, so we could set up an alliance to make our pack stronger to protect us from the threat of alphas like Damon. Oh, the irony. I saw guards walking all over the place, stationed at random intervals. Damon continued to lead me across the yard and into the house. We got to the front door and the guard bowed and addressed Damon before staring at me and gazing at my chest a little too long for my liking. Damon growled and pushed him up against the wall with his hands on his collar. Don't you dare fucking check your Luna out like that. He yelled, and before I could do anything he snapped the guard's neck, killing him instantly. I shrieked and cowered away from Damon. Damon turned around and his eyes softened, a look of regret and guilt crossing his face. I'm sorry you had to see that, love. Running his hand through his perfect hair and walking towards me again. Don't call me love and stay away from me, I whispered in terror. I have never seen anybody in my life. Most werewolves have, whether it be a rogue attack or a public execution, but my pack never had those. And my dad always hid me away when we were at home until I was old enough to find my mate. Even when we were being attacked, Damon reached out to pull me to him. I backed away so quickly I almost fell again, but I caught myself. His eyes stared into mine. I almost came closer to him, feeling bad for the way I was treating him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Fine then. What is your name? He asked after a few moments. I waited before sighing and answering quietly with, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A beautiful name for my beautiful mate, he admitted lovingly. In my head it was sick, but my body trembled at his words. Artificial. That's all this was. Not real. Let's go, Emerald, Damon said, holding out his hand and opening the door. I just walked ahead into the house and waited for him to follow. Your stubbornness won't last long here, darling. He led me down a hallway, keeping his hands to himself until we reached a set of stairs. We went up to flights, made a left into a hallway, and at the end there was a set of mahogany double doors with copper knobs. It was the fanciest door I'd ever seen. Damon opened the door and inside there was a flat-screen TV, a living chair, a huge bed that looked extremely comfortable, and 3 doors. We both walked in the living chair to touch its satin-like fabric. "Make yourself comfortable, darling. You'll be here for a while," he said before closing the doors and locking me in. "Hey, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Banging on the door. "Let me out of here, Lancaster. Sorry, baby. Can't have you escaping on my watch, and I need to go do alpha work," he said from the other side of the door before footsteps slowly got quieter in the hallway. I was locked in here for who knows how long. I was stuck in the Lancaster territory. The famous, cruel, merciless, and heartless was my mate. He could kill my family while I'm locked in here. He could kill Nate, Damon's POV. She was the most amazing creature I had ever set eyes on. Now that she was locked away in my room, she was all mine. There is no escaping that room from the inside unless you have my key that opens up the secret passage in my closet for escaping. I pictured her beautiful face as I walked down to my study where my beta and third in command were. The Valentino pack wasn't too happy with this whole arrangement, and they were making deals that I would never give in to. She wouldn't ever leave me. I won't let her go. I walked in and my beta and third in command were waiting for me. "How was our Luna?" JX asked. My heart swelled at that name. I finally have a Luna. She's handling the change differently than I'd have wanted. But she can't leave. Jackson will, my third in command, nodded. "What are they saying now?" "Well, Damon, they are insisting that you give her back now, else the alpha of the Blackstone pack." I cut JX off. "Nathaniel." He nodded. "He said if you don't give her back within the next 5 days, both packs and all their allies will declare war on you." A silence filled the room. "We really don't need any more enemies, Damon," Will replied. "What do you suggest we do then?" "To our agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I asked loudly, "Why don't we just give her back and wait for the mate bond to take over?" He suggested. "She seems to know how to fight it off. And how can you be certain that she doesn't go back and get married right away while she's still in dress?" The thought of my emerald marrying, or even thinking of another man got me and my wolf infuriated. And I wouldn't let her. She needed to love me, then mark her. "They won't want her then," JX added. "Yes, but she would hate me. Locking her up is one thing, but marking her is another." I rolled my eyes at the thought of marking her without her permission. "That's just evil. Someone's got a warm heart all of a sudden," a deep voice said from behind the door. It was still open, so I'm guessing they heard most of our conversation. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "What brings you here?" Alpha Alex back has always been a close ally since the beginning. Although I wasn't necessarily a fan of Alec, I heard a pack is almost making war on you, and I came to find out if I needed to help you guys because of the alliance. You could almost hear the annoyance in his voice when he said alliance. Alec was in the Lone Sun pack, which has long since branched out to where the Alpha has the last name Sanders. There will be no war. They are too weak, and they have too much to lose if they attack here. Alec walked in, so he was next to JX. "Why are they declaring war on you, Damon? Who did you murder this time?" He said, slightly cold. "I didn't murder anybody yet. I stole a pack member from them. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Wanting to finish this conversation, who it clearly has to be someone important. Was it the son of the Fae in command, the head warrior's mate, or the beta's sister? Wanting to hear more. This amuses you because I don't find the purpose in stealing other pack's members in the first place. I mean, if you want them in your pack, then you just make a deal with them or make the person you want to come into your pack. Alex still had a smile from amusement on his face. "Well, when it's the Alpha's daughter who happened to be getting married and who also happens to be I was cut off by a maid panting at my office door and a loud noise coming from somewhere upstairs. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Someone's trying to break something in your room. Catching her breath. God damn it. I whispered to myself before leaving to go check on Emerald. Chapter 4. Emerald's POV. I found the heaviest thing I could find, which happened to be a suitcase that was in the spare, empty closet, and threw it at the window. Even though I was 3 stories up, with werewolf skills I'd be able to jump and land with barely getting hurt. The glass didn't even crack, but the suitcase made a loud sound that could be heard from downstairs probably, even though this room was most likely soundproof. Ugh, how hard is this going to be? I said quietly to myself. I picked up the suitcase and threw it at the window again, this time with more force. It made even louder a sound, but not a dent done to the window. I heard footsteps out in the hallway and picked up the suitcase again, just as I was about to throw it a 3rd time. Damon walked in and gave me a questioning eyebrow. Those windows are bulletproof. Do you really think a cheap suitcase will break it? He smiled at me, confirming that he was amused. I can still test physics. I huffed, throwing it a 3rd time. You throw anything more and I'll bring you downstairs where we're discussing how to defeat your pack if they attack. Don't you touch them. I was supposed to be Luna of the Blackstone, Valentino pack, so they are my utmost concern. But you kinda messed that up, didn't you? Someone started walking towards us from the hallway. Damon turned around and I could sense the annoyance coming off him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Why are you up here? Damon asked. I say. I heard a noise, and our alliance requires me to help out. He directed his gaze at me and smiled a handsome, just grinning, and most likely panty-dropping smile. And you are? He asked in a voice that usually would have made me think twice about getting married to Nate, but I said nothing. Emerald Valentino. I smiled back at him, a little too friendly like. Stop that. Walking towards me. Don't touch me, Fizco. I don't want any part of you or your demonic pack. He smiled at me before he was suddenly right in front of me. Oh really? He whispered low. Only to me. So this. He placed hand on the side of my neck, stroking the spot I would be marked, sending shivers down my spine. Doesn't affect you in any way. He smiled and I trembled before shuddering out. No. It doesn't. His smirk disappeared and he snide liar, before going back to deal with his friend. Oh, I get it. She's your mate. Alex smiled before turning around and walking away. I'll leave you to the pup making then. He shouted and a heat creeped up my cheeks. I was not blushing. I never blush. Damon went up to the door and locked it before placing the key back in his front pocket. He turned around to face me. So the pup making. I would never have your pups. Making Damon's eyes turn black for like the 3rd time today. Well, I'm the only person whose pups you'll ever have. So I suggest you get used to the idea. Darling. He spat out, walking towards me. I backed away into the wall, but he continued to come forward. I would have pups with Nate. However, I smiled just to mock him. Instantly, he was in front of me. I looked away, but he grabbed my chin, gently making me look at him. You are mine. Mine. Darling. Nobody else's. You will do what I say since I am you alpha now. And until you grow up enough to even be considered Luna, what I say goes. You oughtn't to leave this room without someone with you, and you will never run away, or else I'll go after that fiank of yours. He hissed at me, his eyes turning black as coal. I'll never be yours. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I don't want to be Luna of this pack, and by hell you are my alpha. I will get away from you and back to the man I love. You cannot control me. This mate bond will not change me. I won't let it. I shouted right back at him. I Emerald J. Valentino reject. I didn't finish because he pressed against me on the wall and claimed my mouth for his, and explored it with his skilled tongue. I tried to get out of his grasp, but he was too strong, his strong hands holding mine above my head. All I could do was let him. He broke away, but I could still tell he was angry. Rejecting me. Do you really think that will solve all this? I still have to accept. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He still held me against the wall, and there was barely an inch between us now. Stop touching me. He looked at us in the little space there was and released my hands before turning around and exiting, not forgetting to slam it behind him and locking it. Rejecting our mate. What the hell is wrong with you, Emerald? Stop being so selfish and give him a chance. Goddess knows he's more of a man than that Nate you almost married. Esmeralda scolded. Wanna know why I won't give him a chance? Because he's not worth it. Face it, Esmeralda. And what is your problem with Nate? He never hurt me or touched me when I didn't want him to. I retorted. If he wasn't worth it, he wouldn't be our mate. His past shouldn't matter. You could always try to change him. Or are you still too selfish? She huffed. You never answered the question about Nate. I hinted. He's a coward. You can tell. He would have gone after you. Or at least tried. He didn't, however. How do you know? I asked her. I just do, she said before leaving. I groaned before sinking to the ground and putting my head in my hands. I looked around the room for something to do until my eyes found the TV. I jumped onto the middle of the bed and found the remote on the side table and turned on the TV. It was just an image of the front entrance sewer in this pack house. Then, someone walked around the corner and up the stairs. It wasn't a picture. It was a video camera. I started to click the channel buttons until I came across channel 12, which was a video of Damon, the guy from the hallway. Damon's beta. And someone I'm guessing is Damon's third in command. I turned up the volume and watched. Are you sure this plan will work out? The beta asked nervously. I mean, if it doesn't, we could get in a lot of shit with our allies. Like they might think she's just a mate. She's not worth war. Damon stared at his beta with rage. But we're not staring anything. They have to make the first move before we do anything. She's worth war. If they don't realize that, then our alliance is done. He spat. I honestly could care less what happens to her. Mate's a weakness. Just get rid of the damn thing. The guy from the hallway rolled his eyes before continuing. Like, honestly, she will bring this pack down if she's here too long. He was up against the wall before anybody could do anything. That's not a very respectful thing to say. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Where's your mate, huh? Oh, that's right. You don't have one. So I suggest you shut your fucking mouth, then open it when you understand what a mate bond feels like. Damon growled. Are you touching me? This is breaking the alliance. Damon, Alec warned, as is saying to get rid of my mate. Damon countered. The camera is on. JX noted, pointing to the camera. Shit. How long has that been on? Damon asked, running a hand through his hair. I don't know. I just noticed it. Jack said, raising an eyebrow to the camera. Well, I suggest that the viewer turns the TV off. Now, Damon demanded. Annoyed, I looked over at the wall. There was a phone on the wall with numbers below it. There was a discreet emblem of TV in the corner. Today was just my lucky day. Well, besides meeting Damon and getting taken away from my wedding, I realized then that the phone connected to all the rooms. I hesitantly got up and made my way over to it. I picked it up and dialed 12, like the channel, and looked at the TV. A phone started to ring in the office, yes. Damon walked over, looked at the caller ID, and picked it up. Turn it off, Emerald. He sternly demanded. Nope. My pack. My business. I grinned into the phone. Well, my pack. My business. So turn it off. Love. He smirked when he said the word I hated to be called by him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Lancaster, that you clearly were talking about me, so it is my business. He rolled his eyes. I'm sorry, Damon, but we were doing business, and if we are done, I'd like to go home and fuck a few girls. which you won't ever be able to do again with her around. She might not even let you fuck her. So I mean, Alec was cut off by Damon picking up the staple off his desk and chucking it right at Alec's head. It hit him square in the forehead, making him stumble back, holding his forehead. "You're interrupting work," Damon said curtly. Then, he hung up on me. He walked out of his office with his beta, and I couldn't hear what he said. He came back in smiling. "Damon, are you trying to start war between our packs?" "That sure looked like war to me," Alec asked. Infuriated, I heard a clicking noise at the door and the beta walked in. "The Alpha requests you." Holding his door open, I just laughed at him. "I'm not going in there with that Fizco." He threw a stapler at his friend. I just continued to watch TV and ignored the beta. "We can do this the easy way, or the hard way. He requests your presence, and he really doesn't care if you want to or not," the beta said, clearly running out of patience with me. "Why?" I asked. "Because you are annoying. Get up and move." "But only because this room is boring. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noben, heartthought thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Turning off the TV and getting up, the beta and I walked downstairs to his office and he opened the door for me. "Sit," Damon growled, pointing to a chair next to his desk. "What if I don't want to?" "Lancaster," I challenged. "Then I'll make you." I huffed and sat down in his chair, Alec eyeing me the entire time. "This is it, the one you would risk your entire pack for?" Alec asked, an amused smile on his face. "She is the soon-to-be Luna. Everybody in his pack should risk their life for her." I snorted, making Damon eye me angrily. "I guess he's pretty pissed off. She doesn't want to be, so she wouldn't even agree to the ceremony." Alec protested. "Was he helping me?" "I hope so." "Oh, she would." Damon's smirk staring at me. I rolled my eyes and focused my gaze back on Alec. "I don't think she would. Or that she should. My pack and I need strong allies, not lover-sick puppies," he replied, very annoyed with this conversation. "If you wish to break our lasting alliance because you are Novi, then so be it." Damon angrily growled. "Naive." Alec growled yes. "The mate bond are strange things that you are currently unaware of at the moment." Damon smirked at the both of us. "I'm done with this conversation. I'll decide if I want to break this alliance or not, based on her actions." Alec growled before opening and slamming the door behind him. Chapter 5 Emerald's POV. Damon sighed before placing his fingers on the bridge of his nose. He muttered something even my wolf hearing could make out and brought his eyes back to me. "Come on, let's go to bed," he said quietly. "Bed as in the same one. Don't fight me on this. You fought enough with me today," Damon replied, almost reading my thoughts. "Where are we sleeping?" I asked with a cold, hatred-filled voice. "I'll show you. Just follow me," he said, ignoring my tone, opening the door and walking toward the staircase. We walked up to the third floor where the room I was locked in was. He opened the door to it and stepped inside. "You might want to take a shower and get changed out of that dress. I'll go get you some clothes to change into. Please, stay put, Emerald." Tired, and something in me made me want to listen. I guess I was as tired as he was, which meant I didn't have enough energy to run. I nodded and he walked out, leaving the door wide open. I turned around and studied the room more. The first time I was in here I was too busy trying to escape to care about my surroundings, but I have given up for the night. I noticed the frames on the side table first. I walked over to get a closer look. The leftmost photo was of Damon, an older guy next to him who resembled Damon closely, and a girl next to him that only had Damon's dark hair to match his. No other similarities. I was guessing those were his siblings. In the middle photo, there was a picture of a salt and pepper-haired guy with greyish-blue eyes. The photo seemed old, but it wasn't yellowing yet, so it can't be very old. There was a woman who had the man's arm wrapped around her waist and she was smiling. A beautiful smile, and she was instantly one of the prettiest women I've ever seen. Even with her age, she had a slim, curvaceous body while the man next to her was built. They seemed happy. I took a seat on the bed right next to the table. The last photo was of 2 young boys, one with grey eyes and black hair, and the other with blonde hair and hazel eyes. The one with blonde hair looked exactly like Alec, just younger. Since I knew this was Damon's room, the other boy had to be Damon. "Here are your clothes," Damon said, walking in. He noticed me studying his photographs and his eyes flickered with an unknown emotion for a brief second before they went back to emotionalses. He leaned back until he was laying on the back with his bed. "Dear Goddess, you're tiring." Something in me felt regret for making him tired like this, but the other half of me enjoyed it, knowing I could get him weak like this. "As are you, kidnapping me, locking me away in your bedroom, and almost going full wolf on me at least 5 times. I'm surprised I haven't passed out from exhaustion because of your antics. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Getting up and walking towards the bathroom. "This could all be easier if you gave me a chance, darling," Damon inquired quietly. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I doubt he gave all the innocent people and children he killed a chance. I closed the door behind me and stripped. I turned on the shower and warmed it up until it was hot enough as to where I'd feel like I was burning, but not hot enough as to where I would burn. I just stood under the water, washing out the entire day's events, almost getting married to Nate, meeting Damon, being locked away in this room, listening to their conversation on the TV. Wait, the conversation. They were talking about plans with my pack. I shampooed, conditioned, and scrubbed as quickly as possible, so I could ask Damon the questions I had. I turned the water off and stepped out. I looked at the clothes he gave me. It was red and lacy lingerie. I covered myself with a fluffy blue towel that smelled exactly like Damon and stormed out, holding the clothes. Lingerie. An amused smile found its way onto Damon's face. "Well, what you're wearing right now isn't too bad either. And it's easier to pull off," Damon hinted. A red blush found its way onto my cheeks as I dropped the lingerie to the floor. "Is there anything else I can wear?" I questioned. "Fine. I'll go get you something." Damon sighed, walking over to his closet. He came out after a few seconds holding a pair of boxer shorts and a grey t-shirt. "You only get these." He gestured to the clothes. "If you change right there." His evil smirk returned back onto that perfect face. I came up with an idea. "Deal. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Holding my arm out, my other arm holding my towel together. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Damon asked, surprised. I nodded. He handed me the clothes and holding the towel together. I slipped the shorts on underwear and pulled the shirt over the towel. "No fair. Damon wind, as is making me change in front of you. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I snapped back, walking towards the bed to sleep on the side closest to the bathroom. I got in and pulled the blankets up. "I'll be back in a few," Damon said, walking into the bathroom, not shutting or locking the door behind him. He smiled at me while taking off his shirt, revealing his perfectly crafted 6-pack. I ogled at his chest before realizing I was staring. I mentally face-palmed. "Are you going to close the door or am I going to have to turn around?" "Well, those aren't your only choices," Damon smirked. "What exactly other choice do I have?" I questioned. "You could join me in here," Damon hinted. "EW," I almost blurted out. "I've already showered," I responded. "Well, you could have gotten dirty from the time you got out to now, so." He unzipped his jeans and started pulling them lower and lower. I walked over to the bathroom, covering my eyes with my hand and closed the door. "Oh, you tease," Damon whimpered. I huffed and dropped down on the bed before huffing. I forgot to ask him about what I heard. I guess I just have to ask him when he gets out of the shower. I sat on top of the sheets just staring at the ceiling before the bathroom door reopened. There was Damon, a towel hanging dangerously low on his delicious hips, as to where you could see his V-line. I could practically feel my mouth watering. Wait, what? A W-E-W-E-W. W. Stupid artificial mate bond. You like? Damon said, noticing my gaze. I groaned. Could you please put some clothes on the gallo? I huffed, sitting up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbay. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He smiled at me. He opened a drawer on the dresser and pulled out a pair of boxers. He held them but one hand down to his towel. I caught on to what he was doing and shielded my eyes. Oh, my eyes. I shrieked just as I heard the drop of the towel. I waited a minute before I felt the bed sink and peeked through my hands. Ugh, don't try that again, I annoyingly demanded. All right, sweetheart. Not unless you do it as well. He scooted closer to me and pulled me around so I was facing him. There was about a good foot between our faces. What? I whispered, and something in me paralyzed me to the spot. Can I not gaze at what's mine? Dame Anne whispered sweetly. I was snapped back into reality and I scooted back. Not yours. I mumbled, sliding into bed, facing away from Damon. Emerald darling, you're so stubborn, Damon replied, leaning down to kiss my cheek before sliding into bed. His touch made my skin flashingly heat up. Damon turned off the lights and pulled the blanket up before pulling me to his chest by my waist. No, I immediately replied. His grip tightened and he nuzzled his nose into my neck. Please, for the sake of our wolves, don't fight me on this, he pleaded. I guess I have to choose my battles. Only if you answer my questions. I negotiated. One question, the other in the morning, he promised, which was more important. The pack question was, but would he tell me? I decided I would ask him about Alec. I sighed and spoke before I could change my mind. If Alec is your friend, why do you resent him? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And he sighed, because he's annoying, and sick, and he's a man, whore, Damon said with slight anger in his voice. Why don't you just end the alliance with Alec? Because he would wage an all-out war on us. Even though we're significantly stronger and have bigger numbers, his pack is still strong, so they would really injure us for a while, allowing all other packs to come and take us down. Trust me, if I could end it, I would have. I yawned. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I get it. Thank you for telling me. My eyelids started to droop. Go to sleep, love, Damon whispered. He put his strong arms on my waist and pulled me so my head was resting on top of his warm chest. His arms tight and around my waist and we both dozed off together. Chapter 6, Emerald's POV. I woke up to the sunlight shining in my face. I moved my head to face away from it when I felt my pillow move. I opened my eyes and Damon was asleep under me with my head on his bare chest. His eyes darted open, and he smiled. Good morning. He yawned. Hi, I whispered. We may have been decent to each other last night, but we were both too tired to argue. Now, with the best sleep I've had in a while, I definitely have the energy to argue. I got off his chest and sat up. The look on his face told me he didn't like it, but he wouldn't push me too far. What am I supposed to do today? Sit here all day again? I asked, annoyed. I didn't want to bring up the idea of escape, because he expects that right now. I have to wait for when he least expects it, or when he can't do anything. Well, see, you could have been a good girl here and gained my trust, but since I'm positive you're set on returning to what's his face, I'm afraid that might be the case, darling. His smile faded and a serious expression replaced it on his face. Nate. His name is Nate, I whispered angrily. But he doesn't matter anymore, he growled lowly. I rolled my eyes. There really was no arguing with Damon. He's such a hothead. I got up from the bed and walked over to the closet. I grabbed a pair of basketball shorts and one of Damon's shirts before walking to the bathroom. I took a quick shower, to which I heard Damon mutter outside the door, "I'll be joining you in there sometime soon, sweetheart," and dried myself off. I looked around the bathroom for fresh undergarments when I realized I didn't have any. All I had was my clothes from my wedding, and those were nasty dirty. I kept the towel on my upper half before I put on the shorts and opened the door a peek. "Hey, Damon?" I asked quietly. "Yes," he asked from the bed, still looking the same as when he woke up. It was quite embarrassing asking your mate for underwear and a bra, but I'm not going commando any longer than 5 minutes. "I need some." I stuttered. "Clothes. I sort of expected you to ask for some before you just raided my closet. But hey, I'm sure you look even sexier in my clothes, darling." He smirked at me before getting up and walking out the door. A bright red blush made its way onto my cheeks. Am I being rude to him in his house? I hate being rude, even though kidnapping me from my own wedding kind of tops my charts for rudeness. Raiding people's stuff is also pretty rude. Only a few moments later, Damon came back in with a stack of freshly folded clothes. He walked over to the bathroom and handed me the clothes through the opening. "Thank you, Damon," I said gratefully. "No problem," he modestly replied. "See, you may think that I'm trying to be nicer and friendlier with Damon right now, but you're wrong. I have a plan. Get closer to Damon, gain his trust, and then just when he trusts me, I disappear into thin air. Foolproof? Right." I closed the door and started to change into my undergarments first. Damon gave me a normal blue tee with nothing special on it that fit loosely enough to not cling to my assets, but not loose enough to fall off. He also gave me a pair of black shorts that also fit perfectly. A thought came into my mind. Whose clothes are these? I exited the bathroom and Damon looked me up and down before getting up. They fit. Good. Whose are they? They're my sister's. She moved away 2 years ago to her mate some stuff here. I assumed you two were the same size. He started walking towards the bathroom when I stopped him. "Wait," I practically screeched. "Damn, it's only 8. My ears can't handle that," he mumbled. "I had 2 questions last night. You only answered 1. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylan Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Proud of remembering. "Oh yay. Shoot." Crossing his arms across his chest. "What plans are you doing against my pack?" I whispered, suddenly afraid of his answer. "Oh, you heard that too? I really need to hide my remote." He looked away, clearly lost in thought. "Hey, Alpha." He didn't answer. I snapped. "Oh yay." He droned off, clearly trying to avoid. I glared and he held his hands up. Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. They want you back, and I don't want that to happen, so we're not gonna let them." He smiled before running into the bathroom and locking the door. I ran over to the door, pounding on it. "Hey, you said you'd answer." I did. I could hear the smirk in his voice. He thinks he's won. For now, yes. But this war isn't over yet. I've been in this room, locked away, for over 25 hours. 25. That's over a day. And not one person from my pack is allowing me insight on their plan over the pack link. They think Damon's putting me up to it so he can keep me here, 'cause I'm in love with him. Please. Never gonna happen. The only person saying more than 2 words is Nate. He's still distant, because he might think I'm helping Damon out here. But otherwise, his usual. Is he treating you right, babe? Yay, that's why I'm locked away in this room. I mentally thought, but instead told him I'm fine. That's good. He better not hurt your beautiful self. Mate, what is going on? What do you mean? You know what I mean. What are you guys planning to do? Please tell me. I begged. You know I can't. He started, but I cut him off. Knowing and trusting are two very different things, Nate. I really can't. It's better if you don't, he pleaded. What? I was about to say something else, but someone threw a pillow at my face, making me snap out of my pack link. I was leaning on the wall, previously watching out the window. Hello? You in there? Damon asked, smiling his pearly white smile. I smiled back. His smile really was infectious. Sorry. Just thinking. About what? Is it my ABS? He asked cock-ily. Your lack of... I giggled at the frown that planted itself on his face. Darling, you wish these ABS? He started, coming closer until he was right in front of me. Face to face? We're hovering over you. While I do this, Damon put his hands on both sides of me before planting his lips hungrily on mine. At first I didn't respond, and then one of Damon's hands stayed to my butt, which he grabbed, making me gasp, allowing him to explore my mouth. My eyes closed at their own accord. He claimed my mouth, and something inside of me made me start to respond, moving my lips against his. He continued to savor this amazing moment before he pulled back, leaving his forehead resting on mine. I could feel Esmeralda sigh with happiness. I, however, still wanted him to back up. Like last time, we were both panting, and I stared into his eyes. The once beautiful grey-blue were now slightly darker, indicating that he wanted to go further than just a kiss. Not just him, honey, Esmeralda taunted. Oh, shut up. I snapped back. That was technically sexual assault. I pointed out to Damon, who smirked, clearly coming up with a smart remark. Well, looking at you was disturbing the peace with me. So technically we're even. I rolled my eyes and pushed him lightly off me so I could walk closer to the window. I came up here to invite you out of this room to go have lunch with me, Damon said. I looked at him with wide eyes. Out of his room. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylen Nobe. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I tried to hide my happiness, but I failed. Yes, but at the moment I'm not really hungry for food. Rather something else. So you choose what you're hungry for. He pervertedly smiled. Nope. Not that type of hungry. I rushed out. Darn. And I was so excited. I just thought that you'd be extra hungry since you didn't eat breakfast. He mocked sadness. Let's just go. Not wanting this conversation to go on any further, we walked down the hallway and down to flights and made a left until we were in the kitchen. Damon walked straight up to the fridge and opened it. What do you want? I don't really care. Do you like grilled cheese? He looked over at me for an answer. Yay, that'd be great. I gave him a small smile. Why are you acting so weird? He asked honestly. What do you mean? I asked, confused. He took some things out of the fridge, set it on the counter, and leaned on the fridge door. Well, yesterday, you wanted to kill me, and now we're having a hostile conversation, Damon pointed out. I smiled innocently, so he was catching on. I don't know. Maybe I'm just giving you a chance. I mocked friendliness, yes, because that happens in a day. You don't believe me? I asked, slightly hurt. Well, I sure don't have any reason to, he admitted. I only smirked in response. Chapter 7. Enthrall's POV. I walked right up to him and stood on my tiptoes, putting my mouth right next to his ear. I can always make you believe, I whispered seductively before planting kisses up and down his neck. I put my hands on his strong shoulders before starting to kiss his perfectly shaped jawline. His grey-blue gaze never left mine for a second, and he didn't move, almost afraid that if he did I would stop. To my agent extraordinaire, Mylen Nobe. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You must really think I'm an idiot. Damon scoffed, backing away from my touch. What do you mean? I put as much love into that word as I could muster. You think seducing me will gain my trust? I don't trust hoes, mate, he admitted, Slightly laughing at the fact I was trying to seduce him, I mentally stomped my foot. He found out my plan. Maybe I could try and cover this up. Damon. Can I not touch my mate? I put up a fake-sad face before continuing with mock glassy eyes. I just want you to trust me, I whispered. You really want me to trust you that badly? Staring at me for signs of dishonesty. I nodded, a smile creeping its way into my face. Let me he finished. I gaped at him. Shit. He knows I won't do it. Shit. Damon, I stood dead. See, I'm not the dumb, sex-obsessed, clueless guy you think I am. He smiled at me, rubbing my defeat in my face. Darling, do you think you're really the first girl to ever try and seduce me to get something from me? Do you know how many alphas try to get me in bed just so they can kill me when I'm not paying attention for a second? Let me tell you. Seeming to be reminiscing. Do you know how many alphas tried to seduce me to get to power? Even a small pack like mine can have value. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. If they had succeeded, I'd probably already be married by now. I admitted. His eyes turned black with rage. Nobody touches what's mine. Who were they? Name them and I'll have their names on a stick within the hour. He threatened. It's done with. That was months ago. When I met Nate. I whispered, trying not to cause any war. If anyone else dares to touch you, I'll rip them to shreds. I heard footsteps from down the hallway as a man with black hair and blue eyes stepped in. Damon knew who he was without even turning around from the stove. What do you want, Lyles? He asked in a monotone voice. Well, the Valentino pack requests that you meet up to make a deal. They want something, but I wasn't told what. He eyed me curiously with interest. My ears peaked up when I hear the name of my pack. Why do they want to meet up? Damon turned around from where he was cooking and glared. Damon, who is she? Niles asked, still staring. That's weird. He didn't call him Alpha Damon. I answered before Damon could. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Nice to meet you. Maybe he could help me escape. Alex scared me too much to ask. And the only other people here who could help that I knew were Lyles and the Beta. And I doubt the Beta would be much help. Lyles. Coming closer until he was standing next to me. Damon turned around and looked at us. She's mine. Oh, we finally have our Luna. Lyles asked happily. Noise. Me and Damon said at the same time. Oh, I see. When I first met Catherine, she didn't want to move packs either, but I finally convinced her. How? Damon asked, staring at me. Well, mating to be honest. Damon smirked while a fiery red blush appeared on my cheeks. How did you get her to agree to mate? Now directing my stare on Damon. A lot of time and effort and trust, he said honestly. Now it was my turn to smirk. Trust her? I asked innocently. Does that include locking someone in a room for over a day? I smiled mockingly at Damon, who rolled his eyes and continued to cook my grilled cheese. No, actually, I had to give her a lot of freedom. She tried calling her old pack like 5 times, but they understood that I was pretty high in power, and it's best to leave her here. Damon frowned, and I smirked. Oh, really? Rubbing this news in Damon's face. You're still going to be locked in that room. Damon promised. Whatever. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Rolling my eyes. Niles had already left, so now it was just me and Damon. Who is he? Trying to break the awkward silence. My brother. So that was where he got his hair color. And Catherine is his mate. I asked Ye, what position is he? I wondered. Head warrior. As the sandwiches were cooking, Damon turned around. Back to the people who tried to get you in bed. Damon crossed his arms on his chest and clenched his jaw, almost getting angry at the near idea. I rolled my eyes again. Damon, he growled lowly. It's not done. Damon, how dumb do you think I am? I know why guys want, and I never gave in. The only time I almost did was when I had had 3 cups of wolfsbane previously. But Nate was there, and he saved me from doing anything stupid that night. Remembering the day I met Nate, our hips were grinding together, and the lights above us were blinding me. Flashes of white and black filled the room. He had his hands on my butt, holding me close to him. His gaze was directed at my chest, but I was too intoxicated to care. We were dancing so intensely and I was getting tired quick. "Hey babe," he shouted huskily. "Yes, hearty," I shouted back. He grinned and his brown eyes arched, hearing me call him that. "Let's get a room," he suggested. As intoxicated as I was, I still knew what he was asking sex. But stupid old me getting drunk made my wolf go mute, and she couldn't help me. So I nodded. "It'll be amazing. I'm guessing you're a first-timer, babe," he implied. I just nodded. He took my hand and led me through the sea of bodies. I had decided to go to a human nightclub for my 18th birthday. He led me down a dark hallway and in front of a door. He had a key on his finger suddenly and he unlocked a door. You don't know how much I had to pay the owner to get this key. Rolling his eyes, he pulled me in and pushed the door closed. But it didn't close. Then, without warning, he threw me on the bed. "I like to be a little rough. You'll love it, babe." He walked over to me and leaned over me. He pushed me so I was laying down and hovered over me. He ripped off my shirt in one quick motion, his eyes scanning my chest. He then hastily unbuttoned his shirt and unzipped his pants. "You fool! Get out of there right now, Emerald!" Esmeralda screamed. I felt a punch to the side of my head and looked at the guy on top of me. He didn't touch me. "What that was me, you dirty hoe. You're drunk. And this is wrong," she screeched. Suddenly, the wind was knocked out of me. I clutched my gut sitting up, making the guy move. I didn't even know his name. Although now in a lighter room I could tell he was blonde with brown eyes. That's different. Usually blondes have blue eyes. "Babe, don't be afraid," he pleaded. "I'm sorry, I can't do this," I whispered breathlessly. "Yes, you can. You're strong." He didn't even know me and he was calling me strong. He was just trying to get a good fuck. "Really? I'm sorry," I said before trying to get up. But he pushed me back down. Nobody runs away from the alpha. Well, the alpha's daughter is. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Pulling out of his grip. "Not as important. You die. People know. I die. The pack dies." He smiled heavily. "So you're going to kill me?" I tested, slight afraid of the answer. "Depends what choice you make, babe. Don't call me babe freak. I'm from the Valentino pack, and we can raise hell when we want." I snarled. "Ah, so you're the famous Emerald," he taunted. "You know, word has traveled around about how sexy you are. Even 2 years ago, I had heard your name. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I was at your mother's funeral. The stranger came at me and pushed me against the wall. "Don't you bring up my mother." "Then let's fuck," he whispered huskily. "Never. You can't stop me," he said before kissing my face roughly. He started to trail kiss down my neck into my chest. "Help. Somebody help." I screamed at the top of my lungs. "Shut up, babe," he growled before biting my shoulder roll. Before he could get any further, the door busted open. I felt a whoosh of air and the stranger was gone, leaving me and whoever opened the door left. I panted, sliding down the wall to sit down. "You okay?" the noob I asked. "Thanks to you," I told him. He walked over to me and held his hand out for me to grab. "Thanks," I said, grabbing his hand. Nathan Blackstone," he introduced. We talked the rest of the night. He drove me home too, and once he realized I was a wolf, he told me he was an alpha. He gave me his number, telling me to call him whenever I was in trouble again. I didn't call him for another 3 years. When I had decided to make an alliance with the pack, he was my first choice, although he didn't respond for a month because he was dealing with rogues in Montana, who was the guy who tried and almost succeeded. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilden, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Looking ready to kill. I looked down in shame. I don't know. I never got his name, but he got mine. I whispered. What? I told you. I was beyond drunk. The next day was the worst hangover of my life. I said truthfully. So you'd go to bed with just any random guy when you're drunk? He asked angrily. He can't speak to me like this. He's basically implying I'm a hoe and I will not have this monster calling me a slut. Honestly, yay, every guy except you. I spat, walking out of the kitchen and up to his room, not forgetting to slam the door behind me. He didn't follow me. He didn't get someone to bring me down. He just left me in his room for the rest of the day. Chapter 8 Damon's POV. She just left. I almost ran after her. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Damon, Miles asked. I turned around from glaring at the black grilled cheese. What? Goddess, what happened? Pointing at the smoke from the grilled cheese. What do you want, Lyles? I ask impatiently. Don't use that tone with me. I still am your older brother, so you shouldn't be able to use that alpha tone with me. You know, I was supposed to be the alpha. He commanded. The Valentinos require you contact them urgently. He informed before walking out. Placing my fingers on the bridge of my nose, I walked into my office and JX and Lyles were already in there. Lyles held a phone out for me and held up a finger to his mouth. I picked up the phone and held it to my ear. Elful Lancaster. Lancaster. He angrily hissed over the phone. Blackstone. I waved JX and Lyle out and they closed the door. I went and took a seat behind my desk and turned around to face the window. But there was that familiar red dot in the corner. God damn her. Give her back. He commanded. Sorry, nope. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Mocking sadness. I smile up at the camera before flipping her off. I really should disable that system when she's in there. Damon, you realize that we have allies. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And you taking the soon-to-be Luna from us is an act of war, so they wouldn't mind going to war with you. He snidey. Well, she still is a soon-to-be Luna. I looked directly at the camera before continuing. We're having the ceremony in 2 days. I smiled and heard a screech from upstairs before I heard stomps. What was that? Sounding on edge. My Luna. Goodbye, Blackwood. I rushed out, hanging up just as the door slammed open. Moshi hissed. No what? I said in mock cluelessness. You know what I'm talking about, asshole. No fucking way. Her nostrils were flaring and her beautiful sparkling green eyes had dilated and lightened. I stood up and started to walk towards her. You know, profanity is a dangerous thing to use when talking to me, especially after your whole blow-up in the kitchen. She started to back away. You can't call me a whore and get away with it, she threatened, seeming to have learned her lesson. She turned before she backed into the wall and started to back up towards the front door. Well, when you act like a whore, I sure as hell am able to call you out on it. That's all it took for her eyes to go all white. Enfroth's POV. I hoped my eyes weren't showing when I went up to him and slapped him as hard as I could across his face. Fuck you. I snarled before running out the front door. I couldn't shift. Not here. So I had to run in my human form, which was definitely slower. I heard shouts behind me, but I didn't stop. People all stared at me, but I didn't care. I needed out of here. Right now. I heard clothes ripping apart behind me, and it only encouraged me to run faster. Just as I had stepped into the forest, a midnight black wolf appeared in front of me with grey-blue eyes, and instantly I knew who it was. He stopped in front of me and growled, "Stay away from me. I never want to see you again," I declared. He flinched. He tried to get me to back away from him by coming closer, but I simply sidestepped, making him growl again. "Get away." I heard footsteps behind me and the beta was here to help Damon. "Luna, I snapped my head to look at him. "Don't you dare call me that," I snapped. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The Alpha insists you go back before his wolf takes over and hurts you. I felt tears coming on, but I wouldn't cry right now. I couldn't. I'd rather die than be with him. I snarled. Damon jumped at me, but JX ran off me before he could lay upon me. I took that as my chance to keep running. I made it halfway through the forest before I was tackled to the ground. I landed with a grunt and looked to see Damon's wolf hovering above me, snarling. He nodded his nose back in the direction of the pack house and got off me. Jax came back and pulled me by the elbow gently. "You really shouldn't have kept running," he suggested. "Why?" I asked in annoyance. We entered the house and instead of going up to flights, to Damon's room, we went down to the basement. "Because now he wants you down in the cells until he goes to sleep," JX answered. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I asked, surprised. Jax made a left and tightened his grip on my elbow to prevent me from running again. We came to a stop in front of one of the cells. It had closed walls and only a slit through the door. He unlocked it and inside was a simple queen-size bed by itself. I feel it somewhere before. What are these rooms for? I intrigued. You don't want to know, JX promised. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I said, turning around. I do. So please tell me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Batting my eyelashes. It's for the rogues. Locking the door behind him as he left, I saw the room differently now. To put me here, when it was meant for such violent attackers, it was disgraceful. I went and sat in the corner instead of on the bed, not knowing if it was ever cleaned. I saw a camera in the corner with a red on the bottom of it. That's where I've seen it. The TV. I got up and moved away from where the camera could see me, but it simply moved. I couldn't hold back the tears any longer, so I buried my eyes into my arms, crossing them on my knees. I looked back up at the camera and the red light was gone, indicating that whoever turned it on must have got bored. I leaned back against the cold hard wall and put my legs back down flat. Esmeralda. What? She didn't sound annoyed. Rather tired. What are we supposed to do now? I could feel myself on another brink of tears, but I held back. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I get that you don't want any part of Mate, but when it comes down to it, the only person here for you right now is Damon. So, when it comes to it, you will have to choose, and that's your decision. But for right now, can we savor Damon? She begged with need. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Like, give him a chance, she suggested. No way. Not after today, I answered. She sighed and left, leaving me alone in this cell. I didn't realize how tired I was until I fell asleep on that cold, hard cell's floor. One stood in front of me on the grass, the other behind me, crawling. Choose now, Esmeralda called. I looked at both of them, and before I could see who I chose, the world spun, knocking me back into the grass, which had transformed into a meadow. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A little voice called, I looked around to see a little brown-haired girl with blue eyes that sparkled in the sun running towards me. She ran up to me and plopped down in my lap. "Mommy, why'd you stop playing? Daddy's still out there, and so is Beretta," she said in her cute little toddler voice, not being able to pronounce the TH sound. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. "Come on, Mommy, let's go find TM," she said excitedly, grabbing my hand in an attempt to pull me up. I got up and followed her jogging into the forest. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. A black-haired boy ran up to me from behind a bush. He seemed to have been crying because his eyes were red and his cheeks were puffy. "Daddy isn't here anymore," he announced. "Where'd he go?" I felt myself say. "That way," the boy said, pointing to the trees in front of us. I motioned for the children to stay here and ran in the direction the boy pointed to. I ran about 5 minutes until I came onto a new pack's territory. 2 guards stepped in front of me and blocked me from going any further. "Name, please." To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I panted out in between breaths. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. One of the guards asked, seeming to know that name from somewhere. He grabbed my arm and started to roughly pull me towards the Jittermas pack house in front of me. "Hey, let me go," I demanded, but he wouldn't budge. We walked inside the house, down to flights of stairs and into a pitch-black hallway. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The guard asked. "Go away, guard," a familiar voice said that brought shivers down my spine. "No, no, no," I chanted in my head. The guard disappeared, and footsteps could be heard walking closer. "No, no, please no," I said to the alpha. "Yes, yes, oh yes," slamming me against the wall. I couldn't see anything in this blackness, so I couldn't go anywhere. "I see you've gained a higher title," he noticed out loud. "I've been watching you, ever since that night," he whispered in my ear, giving me goosebumps. "I know you fell in love twice. You had 2 children with another on the way." He placed his hand on my still flat stomach. "How did he know?" "I haven't told anybody yet, and you've already got your mate Mark," placing a cold finger on the spot where my shoulder meets my neck. I was there the entire time watching, and now I get to do what I've wanted to do for years. He yanked off my shirt and traced lines on my stomach. "Please." To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Your husband is in the dungeons left of us, getting what he deserved. Please let him go. We have pups. But I still need to kill him. He replied no, suddenly getting the strength to push him off me. "Darling Emerald, I'll be back." Before the world started shaking again. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Somebody asked, alarmed. I opened my eyes and Damon was crouched next to me, his hands shaking my shoulders. "What?" Still having disgust left in me for him. "It's time for bed and you screamed no." I didn't scream. "Sure." To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He hinted. He held out his hand for me to take, but I scooted away from it. To my agent extraordinaire, Marlene Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. "Don't test me," he said, slightly angry. "Get away." Backing farther away from him. "You tried to run today," he reminded it. "If it weren't for these stupid legs, I could have actually gotten away." I huffed, rolling my eyes. Damon eyed me suspiciously. "Why didn't you shift?" "Oh shit. Don't let the story end. Subscribe to continue our Wolfpack legend."